Okay, so I'm in the Senate website now, and just looking through some things to see how they so that you all would know what you're looking at when you see a bill when it says as when it says HR bill originating in the House. And this is basically how majority of the bills are made up under this House resolution. HJ is a House joint. It's a joint resolution originating in the House. When you see something with an H in front of it, it's from the House. If you see something with an S in front of it, it's coming from the Senate. And this is what I wanted to see: how to find bill numbers, how to find copies of bills, right here. Okay, and it tells us the full text of recent bills is available on the web. Printed copies can be ordered from the Senate. To check the status or request of a copy of legislation, provide the bill and public law number. I should be on the internet. I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to send no letter in, so that they could send me some amended stuff. Okay, and then I went to the list of depository libraries, and again it sent me all over the place. Okay, this is the address. Okay, in the active legislation of the 115th session. Let's see, the public laws. So it's taking me back down here. Public laws in red. So these are the laws already that's approved, I guess. The HH Family Planning Grant and state rules, congressional disapproval of the rule. So that's up under House Joint Resolution 43. Oh, this is up under that for that Title X program. So they disapproved the rules. Everybody thinking that they're not paying for abortions, but you all need to look into that. So SSA background check, gun rule, congressional disapproval of the rule. So I guess this is the rule everybody kind of mad about right here. The House Joint Resolution 40 that became a law. They made this a law. But anyway, let me take you back. Let me see if I can get back to the White House, because I wanted to show you something in there. I don't think I can get back in here from there. Let's see. Nope. Hold on. Okay, we're back to the White House. This is what I wanted to show you, because I'm telling people about who agenda this belongs to. This isn't only President Trump's agenda. This agenda belongs to Mick Mulvaney, who's the director over the Office of Management and Budget. And this is his, he's calling the shot. Mick Mulvaney, Pence, Ryan, McConnell, Hatch, and McCarthy, they calling the shot. Let's see, information for agency. Excuse me. The bulletins. I don't want to get in that one. Let me get out of there, because I look through here all the time, so that just to see what they're doing. And for the most part, I've never seen in my entire life people who are so heartless and cruel. These are some really, really heartless and cruel individuals we get over us. They really are, because there is no way that I could, in good conscience, write up a law where disasters are scheduled. Okay, this is the one from November the 17th. I guess this is from Paul Ryan, and he's talking about the hurricanes, the widespread destruction that continues to affect the lives of millions of America. While the road to recovery from these devastating forces of nature will be long and difficult, the President, myself, and all members of the administration remain steadfast in our commitment to not only help our communities recover, but to rebuild stronger than before. Given that Hurricane Maria made landfall only 58 days ago and conditions remain extremely challenging in Puerto Rico and the United States Virgin Islands, detailed damage assessments are not yet available for these communities. Accordingly, the administration will continue to identify, refine, and articulate additional emergency funding requirements, working with the governments of Puerto Rico and United States Virgin Islands. And this supplemental request does not represent the final request for their needs. To date, the president has signed into law the Continuing Appropriations for the Continuing Appropriations Act 2018 and Supplemental Appropriations for Disaster Relief Requirement Act 2017, which provided $15.3 billion in emergency funding and necessary authorities to respond to and recover from these storms. The president also signed into law the additional Supplemental Appropriations for Disaster Relief Requirements Act 2017, which provided an additional $20.5 billion for a total of $35.8 billion. The same act also provided $16 billion in debt cancellation for the National Flood Insurance Program. All told, the cost of the disasters thus far exceeds $50 billion. At this time, the administration is requesting additional fiscal year 2018 funding in the amount of $44 billion and the necessary authorities to address ongoing recovery efforts. Because the need for this funding arises from unseen and unanticipated events, the administration requests that the amounts proposed be provided and designated as emergency requirements pursuant to Section 251B of the Balanced Budget and Emergency Deficit Control Act of 1985. As a matter of comedy, also provided in this total is $5 million in emergency funding for property damage as requested by the judicial branch. As noted in congressional briefings and discussed in my October 4th letter to the Congress requesting disaster relief and other emergency funds, it takes 60 days to assemble initial recovery cost estimates after a major hurricane. I'm going to skip through all of that. This is a lie. It don't take this long for them to help Puerto Rico, because Hurricane Maria occurred more recently. Damage assessments are ongoing, including in Puerto Rico. The administration is also aware of the unique challenges facing these territories. Thus, the supplemental request includes funding for the continued disaster response and initial recovery activities for Puerto Rico, including funding to address the territory's fiscal liquidity needs. What that mean? Liquidity needs. Adequate funding for these activities in fiscal year 2018 will be critical to continue response and near-term recovery efforts, such as emergency power restoration and the ongoing distribution of fuel and commodities. Okay. For Puerto Rico in particular, the administration seeks, as part of this request, authority to provide public assistance under the Robert T. Stafford Disaster Relief and Emergency Assistance Act without limitations of pre-disaster condition and causation. Related to that, the administration will work closely with Puerto Rico to develop a plan for rebuilding, which will inform the future request for long-term recovery funding. This is a lie. Mick Mulvaney sent this to Paul Ryan. Okay, so on November the 6th, the president asked the Congress to consider fiscal year 2018 budget amendments for the Department of Defense. This request included an additional $4.4 billion to support urgent missile defeat and defense enhancements to counter the threat from North Korea. Okay, so this is from Mick Mulvaney going to Paul Ryan, and they sent a copy to these individuals. Make sure they put Pence, Ryan, McConnell, Schumer, Pelosi, Cochran, Lowy and Leahy. Okay. This request will provide $1 million to the Department of Agriculture for the Office of Inspector General Disaster Recovery and Oversight account. This funding is needed for audit and investigative oversight activities that will focus on program eligibility and integrity related to Hurricanes Harvey, Irma, and Maria. Okay, they want $21 million. Hmm. Oh my goodness, it's a lot of these. How many pages is this? Oh, 85 pages. Watershed and flood prevention operations. So I think what they basically, over there in Puerto Rico, I think they're basically waiting for the water to become so contaminated that it's going to affect all of the waterways. Okay, this funding is needed to remove debris and hazardous material and to repair and rehabilitate administrative and research facilities, electric power systems, water systems, roads and bridges, trails and boardwalks, and other recreational amenities damaged by a hurricane. Okay, so where's this at? This request would provide $68.5 million for the Department of Agriculture, Forest Service Capital Improvement and Maintenance account. This don't make any sense. So they're gonna take. This is how they're gonna to justify taking away the the programs out of mandatory spending. The only entitlement programs that we have right now is the salaries and benefits that we pay to our elected officials, because they're not doing anything to receive that amount of money that they get. It's ridiculous, and we need to demand an ethical and congressional reform to include their compensation, because they don't deserve to make $100,000 a year, and they got people out here can't even get ahead. It's ridiculous. In order for if the people decided to take their money, do you know how many trillions of dollars that would be returned back into our mandatory spending account? Trillions, not millions, trillions. Because if it's 435 of them, not including including the retired, not including their office staff, not including them ones we see on TV. It's trillions, and this is ridiculous. They should not be making more money than the people, because they are responsible for making sure that we're able to maintain, that the people are able to sustain. How can they don't want to even increase minimum wage. They want, because it will it will cause some money to be, the companies and businesses will lose money. And the reason why that is because the cost of living for regular people is so high. And this is why those benefit, those support programs are needed. I'm not going to call them entitlements, because they're not. Employment taxes are not the only taxes going in to pay for these services. Everybody living have to pay taxes one way or the other. I'll be right back.